are we acting as a human being right now, or are we acting as a sales and marketing director, quote unquote, just trying to, again, to go back to our earlier part of this conversation, just trying to convert a few, just trying to make the numbers look a little bit better.
Welcome back to another installment of the NextGen Case Study series. On today's episode, we have Michael Ashford, who is the Director of Marketing at The Receptionist, a Denver-based company specializing in visitor management systems. With a background as an award-winning journalist and a current focus on marketing, Michael brings a unique perspective to storytelling and brand communication. He also serves as the head speaker coach at two TEDx's and has just received his master's degree in mass communication from Kansas State University, which is why we're excited to have him on the show. Michael, welcome to the program.
Devin, appreciate it. Every time I get asked to do a podcast, I appreciate it because it's a rare thing, and I feel like not enough people appreciate that, but I certainly do. So thank you for having me on, man.
Yeah, it's an absolute pleasure. I am excited to get into all of this with you. There's so many things that I want to pick your brain on here, but before we dive into it too far, I'd love to get just a couple of minutes on your kind of background, who you are, where you came from, and how you landed as the Director of Marketing at The Receptionist.
I would summarize the journey as I don't believe we were ever taught to communicate well in our formal education, in our formal schooling. So
I'm with you
growing up, we were very much taught how to exert our ideas and opinions onto other people, but as far as extracting them out of others to create a more actionable message, whether you're in marketing or whether you're a journalist trying to write a story or whether you're on a stage trying to deliver a TEDx talk, we just weren't taught those mechanics of the fullness of what it means to communicate well. And so my journey every step along the way, and I just got you outlined a few of those steps in that intro there, has been a journey to uncover how do we communicate well. That was the goal as a journalist when I was right out of college and working at a local newspaper in Kansas, to when I jumped into the sales and marketing world, and how do you effectively communicate the message of a company to its prospective audience and to its prospective buyers. And certainly in the work that I do with TEDx and helping speakers on stages and in leadership communication, it's how do you create a more actionable message from the work that you do, from the product that you sell or the service that you sell. That's really been my focus. And I've been doing that as the Director of Marketing for The Receptionist for about the last 7 years now. This is the longest I've ever been in one single role, but man, I absolutely love this company and the work that we're doing. So that's what got me to this point.
To dedicate such a significant amount of time to being in one space, I can completely relate to the idea of being complete in one location. Once you've done the job and the job's done, it kind of gets boring. And I'm the kind of guy that seeks out more action. And I'm sure, based on what you shared, that's something similar that you have as well. But when it comes to that level of dedication, there's some level of fulfillment, I assume, that you're still getting from being in that position. Could you kind of elaborate a little bit on what your day-to-day looks like? What are some of the main responsibilities that you take care of?
Yeah, and Devin, that's an astute observation because we marketers like to move around a lot. And I certainly did early on in my career. It is the people. And I just celebrated my 40th birthday, so I'm starting to advance into midlife, and you start to change the things that you're chasing or the things that you are happy with, the things that make you content, the things that give you fulfillment in your job. And for me, that is first and foremost the team that I've built here at The Receptionist. I have a team of 3 plus myself. I came to this role as the first marketing hire that this company ever made and have since built that team out. And it's those people that I get to spend every day solving problems, being creative with James, Kayla, and Anastasia. That more than anything keeps me here. Now, I also extend that to my other directors here that I'm colleagues with, our Director of Sales, Tom, our Director of CX, Lizanne, our Director of Engineering, Delynn, our CEO, Andy. If not for them and the support that they give me and that I'm able to share with them, yeah, absolutely. Marketing software day in and day out can be a challenge in terms of how do I keep the message fresh? How do I keep my energy and passion for the product and getting that message out there? How do I keep that at an elevated level? If it weren't for the people, it wouldn't happen. And it's those people that pour into me and vice versa that keeps me chugging along at this. I absolutely love what I do because of the people.
Relationships are so important in the work that we
Yeah,
do.
man.
And the fact that you have a passion for understanding and creating opportunity for people to communicate better, I think really serves that motivation, that thing that drives you to keep doing the thing that you're doing. Um, when it comes to, that intrinsic thing that keeps driving you forward, have you ever kind of done a bit more of a deeper examination on what motivates you to keep going?
Oh, for sure. I wrote a book about it. uh, so I prioritize my life in four buckets or four priorities that are in order. At the very top, the first order of priority is my purpose. What am I here for? What do I believe that I'm here for? How have I aligned everything else in my life around that purpose? And it is to be in selfless service to other human beings, to help them achieve their goals. That's my
Mm.
purpose. That's why I am here. And I can do that as the director of marketing at the Receptionist and helping grow and advance other people's careers. One of the things I'm most proud of, Devin, is that over the course of my career, uh, it is now 6 former employees of mine that have gone on to lead their own marketing teams. 4 of them are women, and that is incredibly important to me. When we talk about representation, when we talk about diversity of voices at the table in the decision-making process, hugely important to me. And if I can use the gifts and the placement that I've been given to help others achieve those same things and more, that's my purpose. That's at the top of the list. Now, below that is people. And we've already kind of talked about that. But the relationships that matter most, the relationships in my life or the relationships in your life that matter most, those have to come before the other 2 P's on this list,
Mm.
your passions, and then finally your profession. And if at any point in life you feel that those priorities get out of that order, purpose, people, passions, profession, you feel unbalanced. I feel unbalanced. Whenever in moments in my life where my profession, because of, a new job or we had to really get a project done, when my profession had to jump above my passions for a time, or some people, when their profession comes before the people and the relationships in their life, you as a human being feel unbalanced. And when
Mm.
they're not in line with that ultimate purpose, that's when you really get into trouble. So yeah, I've done a lot of exploration of this, man, and it's that's as best as I can sum it up. Those priorities dictate everything that I do.
Is a very clear and concise response to a question that is seemingly out of the ether. So you are uh, that takes some skill to it, and it really is a tribute to um, the skill in communication that you've kind of been developing over time. I know you reminded me as you were speaking of the crashing airplane analogy, and I don't know if you're familiar with this one, but uh, the order of the way that you've prioritized the things that matter to you are, hey, listen, I need to take care of self first. And then once self is taken care of, I can show up in my other relationships with more purpose and more meaning, and I can be with the people that matter. And the analogy is something along the lines of like the plane is going down, and they always tell you to put your oxygen mask on first.
Yeah.
And and the reason they tell you that is because if you can't put yours on, you're not going to be able to help anybody else. And so
Right.
it does at times maybe feel selfish, but the end result is that you're able to serve to a higher degree, higher capacity, with more of your purpose, with more of who you are. And um, it's cool that you were able to identify that in the path that you've taken to get to where you are. I wonder, Michael, if there's other pivotal moments in your career that have kind of helped shape who you are, or maybe your approach to the work that you're doing.
For sure. Absolutely. And I I got to take a step back. As a speaking coach, I hate cliches but I'll give you another one that I really like that I think is appropriate to the one you shared. It is, have you ever heard the phrase, you can't fill up somebody's cup from an empty vessel?
Oh
It's the
yeah.
same idea. If I'm not working on myself and aligning myself with what I believe my ultimate purpose here is,
Hmm.
how the heck am I going to show up for other people in the same way? I just simply can't.
Right.
But to go back to your question, yeah, one of the I'll phrase it as this. One of the worst pieces of advice that I got as a marketer early on when I first became a marketing leader and started leading a marketing team, my CEO at the time brought me into his office and he said, Michael, I don't believe you should be doing anything in marketing that you can't measure. And for years, I operated like that. I got into, this spreadsheet jockey, let's measure everything. Let's get software to measure this part of the marketing funnel. Let's make sure we understand all the conversion rates, all important stuff for sure. But there comes a point where you can't measure what a human's gonna do.
Mm.
Like you can't measure how the emotional charge that goes into a human's buying decision. I can never optimize for that, no matter how great my website messaging is, or no matter how good my nurture funnels are. And so I say that's one of the worst pieces of advice that I've gotten. And it's a pivotal moment for me because it took me years to get out of that mindset. And I don't believe it to be true. I love that you can measure so much in sales and marketing, and it does help in a lot of ways. I love A/B testing a landing page and finding out what copy helps convert people better. That goes again back to communication and messaging. But why did somebody get to that landing page? Let's take a step back from that. Is it, think about your buying decisions. Was it because you clicked on a paid ad that really got you charged up to go see what this company had? Or was there some other deeper meaning that can't be expressed in click-through rates and measurables? That moment, to answer your question, really has stuck with me. And I think that it's again referred to as kind of the blend of the art and science of marketing. Sure, we can kind of call that a little bit of a cliche, but I just say, listen, put yourself as a marketer in the buyer's shoes as a human being, not as a person moving through a funnel. And you can understand how to market to people way better than incremental changes to nurture campaigns or messaging, if that makes sense.
Yeah, there's this dichotomy, right? It's a double-edged sword, and those are never good to have in your arsenal when it comes to creating messaging, attracting people in, solving problems, speaking to those problems, et cetera, et cetera. Like there's the and I think people are out of touch with the meaning of this, and maybe it helps to have a better definition of it. But marketing can be a science, but science isn't definitive. And that's what people, I think, are missing. The idea here that we can only hypothesize. I can only guess at what is going to move Michael's soul. You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
Exactly.
So I make the guess and then I measure what happens and then I do my best to try to recreate that same thing as many times as possible. But the thing is I'm not just talking to Michael. I'm also talking to John and Sarah and Tiffany and there's all these other people now that have different motivators, different factors. And so that other side of it, I fondly refer to as winging it. We're all just making it up as we go. It's the ones who make it up confidently that find success
I
versus
love
the
that.
ones
Make it up
who,
confidently.
yeah, versus the ones who very timidly just follow direction and follow orders. So, Michael, could you maybe explore with me what your customer experience map looks like? What does that process, what does your science look like? Do you mind kind of opening up the back door to some of that?
Yeah. And I'll say up until this point, about a year ago, our growth as a company had been entirely marketing driven. And by that, I mean, we didn't do any outbound work.
Mm,
We have a sales team, but it was all inbound through marketing efforts, whether that was paid through, review sites or Google ads, things like that.
hmm
The vast majority of our customers, though, our prospective customers come to us because they either experienced our product, and we're a visitor management system, we're a visitor check-in system. So you walk into a building, you check in on an iPad that you're there, and the person that you're there to see gets notified that you've arrived at a high level. So most of our customers are coming because they've used our system and they're like, oh, this is really cool. I want something like this for mine. Or our customers rave about us to their colleagues at other customers or at other locations or offices. So word of mouth is huge for us. And again, that's something that we try to tap into that as much as possible in our marketing. We try to elevate the voice of the customer. I interview our customers all the time, whether it's for customer testimonials or customer research or messaging research. We're going through a messaging kind of reimagining right now. I'm talking to a lot of customers, and I've made it a point to do that because that directly feeds into videos that we make and host on YouTube. That's a big play for us right now. We're trying to create more. If you go to our YouTube page, we love humor. I love marketing that injects humor, and we can laugh at ourselves and make fun of ourselves and kind of be self-deprecating, but also to the point where we really understand the customer's pain point that they're experiencing when it comes to the problem that we're trying to help them solve with our software. So it is word of mouth. We do some paid stuff. We really are going heavily into video. That's why we're in the studio that I'm in right now, why we created it. We wanted a good space to film a lot of good video. And then that flows into our nurture process where we use HubSpot. I mean, I could get really granular with this, Devin. Like, we use HubSpot to nurture people through our nurtures. We try to help our customers be as self-service as possible, but also we've got an entire team of CX. We've trademarked the term radical support here at the Receptionist. And what that means is you're gonna experience a level of service and support like none other that you've ever experienced, no matter what product you're using. I'm losing sight of your initial question now that I've been rambling for so long, but I think it was so maybe bring me back here, Devin.
The customer experience map, and you're doing a great job. We're right on track. Yeah.
So yeah, one of the things that we do for our customers and for our prospects is our director of sales and I, Tom, we get on every other month live demos, and every single live demo, we're wearing a costume. Now, I've been the ringmaster and he's been the lion. So I've been the lion tamer before. We've been, of course, Harry and Lloyd from Dumb and Dumber. We've been, I mean, I can't even remember, Slash and Axl. So Axl Rose and Slash from Guns N' Roses. I mean, we do it all. And again, that goes back to we want to inject humor and not make this is not serious stuff here. Like, we're not saving lives. We're a visitor check-in system, and we want you to have fun with it. I would say probably, though, the biggest change to our customer map or our customer journey has been several years ago. We were doing those live demos, and our sales reps were doing a lot of demos and spending 45 minutes to an hour doing demos of our system to our prospects, every single one. And so we created a product tour and placed that on our website where people can, just like they would attend a demo with a sales rep, sign up at a time that's convenient for them. It runs automatically. It's a 12-minute long product tour. And you can get in there and you can see the system. I don't care who sees our system, competitors, rivals, whatever you want to call them. I just want to get it in the hands of the people who are making a buying decision at that point. And so that product tour has saved us over the last several years thousands of hours of doing demos and accelerated, almost cut our sales process by a third, our time to close by a third, by giving them that option to right there, book a demo. There's a live chat functionality. We use a software called eWebinar. I'm not holding any secrets here. eWebinar is phenomenal. Love them. Not sponsored. Just a great company. And that has been an absolute game changer for us in our sales process and our marketing cycles.
You know, the one thing that I'm picking up on in all of that is the priority here is experience. Everything that you've shared with me was very experiential. And to the point, it's the customer that is going to either be the advocate of your business or they're going to be the one that does everything in their power to make sure you aren't successful.
Yep.
Um, and I liken it to, and I use this a few times with some other people who I've seen this with. But Disney does this thing called magical moments.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've ever experienced one. I have. It was a wonderful thing that happened, and it was so cool that I still talk about it to this day. It happened when my son was about 5 or 6 years old. So
Yeah.
it's been at least 5 or 6 more years since that event, and um, that's the kind of experience I get a sense that you're trying to create for your customer when you say radical customer service.
Yeah.
That's that's something that is very refreshing, right? Because I know, even from my own experience, when I have to call somebody, when something goes wrong, somebody has to call that business, you are like preparing for a fight. You're like wrapping your wrists and arms and hands, and you're putting the gloves on, and you're getting ready to duke it out with somebody. Um, but then when you get on the phone with somebody on the other side, and um, they're polite. They communicate well. They are good at diffusing the tension and upset. That goes a long way, and that's remarkable, right? It's worth talking about to other people. Uh, Aside from, the obvious ones that you've kind of shared, are there any other things that you do in that customer experience that are talk aboutable?
Yeah. Two things come to mind as you were just saying that, and from the experience. I think it works the other way, Devin. What is the experience we don't want people to have? So
Ooh.
Tom, our director of sales, and I talk all the time about. There's this phrase that I was introduced to by a man named Jay Akunzo, uh, good acquaintance of mine, former marketer, now runs his own thing. He says a lot of marketing and sales is annoy the many to convert the few, and that is A, so true, unfortunately, but B, not at all how we want to act.
Mm.
And so we constantly have that conversation. Are we acting as a human being right now, or are we acting as a sales and marketing director, quote unquote, just trying to, again, to go back to our earlier part of this conversation, just trying to convert a few, just trying to make the numbers look a little bit better. That's a regular conversation that we have. One example of this is we put out some customer testimonials on our YouTube page recently. Um, and I messaged our creative director. I was like, "Hey, what do you think about taking the parts of these customer testimonials and converting them into, maybe a 30-second reel on Instagram or a YouTube short? Just the part where they're talking really well about us and our product." And he comes back to me and he goes, "Yeah, we could do that. I just went on YouTube Shorts and I was watching a video of a guy who popped balloons by throwing a knife blindfolded. And he listed off these four in a row that were just like these extravagant, gaudy the videos that he had watched on YouTube Shorts. And then he was like, what's the customer experience going to be if they've just watched four videos like that and then they flip to a customer testimonial video?" And I was like, oh, dang. Yeah, that sucks. That's boring me to tears just thinking about it. But those are the conversations that we have here is like, is this actually going to help in the medium that we're presenting it? Is this going to help somebody? Is this going to capture their attention? Or are we just going to annoy the crap out of them?
Mm.
And I don't want to do that. I don't want that to happen to me. It makes me mad when that happens, when I get a YouTube pre-roll ad served up to me. I don't like that. That might convert a few people for that company. Most of the time, those click-throughs are probably rage clicks, like "get this stuff to go away," and that's not how I want people to interact with our brand. So it goes the other way. Is I guess what I'm saying. It's we have to have the critical conversations about what we're doing that aren't optimized as much as we are trying to have the conversations about what can we do better to improve that experience. That makes sense?
Absolutely. Michael, you're pointing at something that I learned in the very early stages of my marketing career, and I can't remember who I should give the credit to. I'm pretty sure it was Seth Godin. However, to the point, the unwritten rule of marketing is that people are willing to sit through your nonsense pitch so long as it is entertaining or provides some kind of utility.
Yeah.
And so when you mentioned this idea of, yeah, we're scrolling through the phone. Like, I can't tell you how angry it becomes after I'm like 3 videos in, and then it's an ad, and then 2 videos and another ad, and another 2 videos and it's an
Right.
ad, and it's just blatantly, obviously an ad. And there's these cool things that you can do now with these social media platforms. And hey, if any big business is listening, pay attention. I can block you and
Yep.
stop you from advertising to me. And if you upset enough people, you're going to see your cost per click go up. You're going to see that reach CPM go up. All your marketing budget's going to get blown away because you're not providing any value to the person that you're trying to serve. And if you can't even provide a little bit of value up front, how do you expect them to make a decision to want to work with you if you're not
Yeah.
having any consideration for them? And that's a really interesting point. On that note, Michael, is there other challenges that you guys have faced along the way in terms of like optimizing your marketing? I know that
Mm.
some of it is very one-on-one, as we talked about the kind of winging it stuff, but there's also processes and systems. How do you kind of balance that in the work that you're doing?
That's an appropriate question for the time that we're in right now because we're going through asking ourselves some of those questions. We have a product that on average is $80 a month. It's not that expensive. Um, and so when you have a product that's $80 a month, we have to ask the question of ourselves, how much is too much in terms of the outreach, the handholding, the personal attention? Are there what segment of the people that come to us who start a free trial or who sign up for our service just want to implement it on their own and be done with it? I heard on a podcast recently that the things that modern consumers are concerned with the most are uh, quickness. Can I quickly get it done? And some variation of easy. It was like, is it simple? Is it simple enough that I can understand it and I don't have to talk to somebody?
Mm.
Like quick and simple. Are are we those things? And right now we're kind of asking ourselves and kind of pointing at some areas in our process where no, we're not quick and simple. We're trying to, there's a lot of salespeople who might not like me by saying this, but I've always heard, especially probably 10 years ago, get the customer into your process, get the customer to follow your process and work them through your process and you guide the process. Well, I don't know if that works for the modern day buyer anymore. And we're experiencing some of that here. And we're asking questions of how many email touches are too much for our customers? How many actual human touches are too much for our customers while still remaining true to that radical support, to that experience that you so eloquently put earlier, Devin. So that right now is top of mind for me.
How how do you measure the success of it? Because a lot of this is intangible, right? Like, how many times is too many times to reach out to somebody about a thing that they need to solve, versus, um, you know, were we proactive enough to get in front of this and have them make a decision with the right information? There's a balance there, right? So how are you measuring success? What milestones or KPIs do you guys have in place to determine that what you're doing is working?
We're of course going to measure time from lead to free trial or opportunity to close. We're of course going to measure those things. We're going to measure that conversion rate. So how many of those people are we converting in each part of the funnel or each part of those steps? But then we're gonna talk to customers. We're gonna make sure that we go back and ask our customers, hey, did you have a good experience? You've implemented what went right, what went wrong for you. Hey, you didn't implement. You signed up for our service and are paying for us, but you're not actually using our service. What's the disconnect there? And that
Hmm.
does happen. And we as marketers and salespeople don't like to admit that that happens. We like to just sit back and say, yeah, they're paying us. Let's not bother them or they might churn.
That was
I
a
would like
conversion.
that was a conversion, right?
Yeah.
I want to understand what the break was, what the breakdown was there. Was it change in, point of contact? That happens a lot. People shift, especially when you're working with frontline receptionist or admin assistants. Those are high turnover jobs. And that happens to be one of our primary buyers. So I want to know that stuff so that we can either message to it or provide more resources to it. Or adjust and say, hey, we need another human touch point here because we never want to lose that connection with our customers.
Yeah, that having that clear and open channel of communication. I love how this kind of came full circle back to the
Yeah.
top of the show is having that clear channel of communication, creating feedback loops, opening up the dialogue to figure out, how the client is using the tools, where it fits, and how you can kind of optimize for that. Super valuable, and that's very helpful for others who kind of don't have that existing in their business as it is. It can be difficult to create those things, but once you have those more open channels of communication and transparency, it allows um, room for growth. So I think that that's super
Yeah.
valuable.
And if I may, one point on that, because I know a lot of people will say, well, that's not scalable. Well, it,
Mm,
it can be to a point. One of the things that we do in a lot of our nurtures when we are trying to get feedback from people or when we're trying to solicit some sort of action from our customers is we acknowledge the fact that, hey, we're sending you an automated email, but you reply back to this and you're going to get a human response. It comes directly to me. So, for instance, when somebody signs up for a demo on our website and they don't want to, the product tour isn't enough. That video that I mentioned, that video product tour earlier that I mentioned, that's not enough. They want to see it. They want to ask a real human some real questions. They submit a demo request. It comes, an automated email gets sent out from me that says, hey, I'm Michael. I'm the director of marketing. Just want to let you know we're working on your demo request. Here's what you can expect. Here's the time frame that you can expect it in. We add some humor in there. I think we say like our sales team is currently arm wrestling to see who gets the pleasure of reaching out to you and connecting with you or something like that.
yeah.
And then at the end, I say, in the meantime, if you have any questions, even though this is an automated email, reply back to this and it will come directly to me. And I promise you, you'll get a non-automated response. And so that's scalable. And I get responses back to that all the time from people that are like, Michael, thank you so much for this. Hey, can you pass along to your sales team that we're looking for this, this, and this, and this to see in the demo? Great. I can pass that along to the sales rep. They already are set up for success on that demo, aren't they?
Mm,
That's scalable. And I'm getting customer feedback in that moment. It does not have to be this slog of one-to-one outreach if you don't want it to be, if it can't be. That's just one example of how we get it done.
yeah, that's really valuable. So in terms of what you guys are kind of aiming at here, big goals, anything that's kind of coming down the pipeline that you're excited about?
Our biggest thing right now is we just launched a brand new product in June. So we are heads down in trying to build that product's brand. It's a visitor management system, much like our current product or our existing product. But it's tailored specifically for the manufacturing industry. And they just have different needs and requirements of a visitor check-in system. And so that's been fun in trying to understand where these buyers congregate, what messaging they pay attention to, how
Mm,
they learn about new products and new software. What is the thing that gets them to go from analog to digital in their process? All this stuff is stuff we're learning right now. And we've got big growth goals for that product, but we've got so much to do on the brand building side of things and the customer acquisition and understanding side of things that's been our focus right now. We've got some great customers using that system. It's been in beta for about the last year, and we're still figuring that out now that we publicly launched it. And so that's where our growth goals are right now as a team, as a company. It's exciting, but it's a challenge too. And I feel like I'm going back to my early marketing days where I'm just swimming, trying to figure out what the heck do I do here?
especially when so much of it is so intangible, right? Like, marketing and everything that we've kind of touched on is very data driven these days. There's all these tools and things and what have you. But then when it comes to like brand, reputation, that kind of thing, the voice of an intangible object. It's really difficult to refine. And so admirable that you're taking on that challenge, and I wish you nothing but success in that endeavor.
Thank you.
As we kind of wrap things up here, Michael, I wonder if there was a piece of advice that you could offer others that are kind of in similar role as you, who are facing similar challenges. What would that advice be?
Well, I would say our goal as marketers is we're in the business of change. We are in the business of trying to get someone to change what they're currently doing to adopt the thing, the product, the service that we are marketing.
Mm.
And when you think about how and why people change, let's break this down. The best quote that I've ever heard about this, about why people change, comes from author and leadership coach John C. Maxwell. He said, people change for 4 reasons. When they hurt enough that they have to, when they see enough that they're inspired to, when they receive enough that they're able to, and when they learn enough that they want to.
Ooh.
And I will say, one of those things is not like the other. Hurt enough that they have to. The other ones, inspire, teach, give. And then hurting people to change, I would kind of say like that's forcing people to change. And when we
Right.
think about change, does anyone like to be forced to change? The answer is no. The answer is unequivocally, no one likes to be forced to change. But so often as marketers, as salespeople, our messaging and the way that we go to market is to try and hurt or force people to change. Our messaging is always focused on, oh, what are you missing out on? Or what are you not doing right? But what if we took the tact of the other 3 ways? What if our
Mm.
messaging and our marketing and the ways that we were trying to exacerbate change from our prospects was to teach them, was to inspire them, and was to give to them the things they need to be able to make a change? If we can do that, if you can do that as a marketer, whatever your definition of winning is, you will win. Guaranteed.
You reminded me of an adaptation that Tony Robbins had for that, the pain of change, or you will change when the pain of change is less than the pain of staying the same.
Right?
And
Exactly.
and I liken this to torching the island. You're on this little island, everything's fine, but it's not ideal, right? You don't have shelter. It's really hard
Yeah.
to come by food, but it's not necessary to do anything about it. It's only when you set ablaze the island that you need to swim across to the mainland and find more abundance. And so
Right.
um, I love that the avoidance of that trickery, right? Trying to
Yeah.
force somebody into change versus inspiring them. And sometimes maybe that inspiration is to torch the island or burn the boats, as it were. But I love that the focus is on inspiring, giving, teaching. Those things are such valuable traits, and there's a huge gap in
Yeah.
the way that businesses are communicating with people that I think that work that you're doing there is filling that. So flowers while you're here, Michael, for pursuing that and being the pioneer
Thank you.
of something positive in the marketing world, because we don't really have the best reputation. So
No, we don't.
we need people like you, Michael, and I give
Thanks,
kudos
man.
to the work that you're doing. You've been very generous with your time, and I'm very grateful for that. Kind of to close things up here, Michael, if somebody wanted to get in touch with you to pick your brain or work with you further, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah. Michael at thereceptionist.com is my email address. And then thereceptionist.com is our website. And if you ever want to get in touch with me on the more personal side of things, I'm on LinkedIn, or you can go to my website, michaelashford.com.
Beautiful. Thanks for doing this, Michael. And if you did want to reach out to us for any of your marketing needs, by all means, you can visit nextgengrowth.com. Otherwise, that's it for this episode, and I will see you in the next.